Retired Army Lieutenant General Russell Honore commanded the Joint Task Force coordinating military relief efforts during Hurricane Katrina's aftermath. He is joining us now. Sir, I appreciate your time. You voiced criticisms of the initial government response to the destruction in Puerto Rico. I just want to get your sense of how this is being handled right now, both by the federal government and, frankly, by the organizations in Puerto Rico that are supposed to be facilitating the assistance. How do you view it?
Well, we still have a problem with scale and having the adequate ability to handle the logistics on the island. Things have certainly got better in the last week since the National Guard, our great United States National Guard, come from all the states, have stepped up and set enough teams in to set up the distribution point. But I still sense we have a problem with distribution with enough trucks and to get enough Bailey bridges or type bridges that can re-establish some of the 40 bridges that are down in Puerto Rico. And great teams on the ground, they just need more of it, and they need to fix those, put temporary Bailey bridges in. On this issue with power, I think this is coming back to a fundamental problem, the way the government is approaching the recovery in Puerto Rico and Virgin Islands.
What is that? What is that fundamental problem?
We had a great lesson learned. We had a great lesson learned from Katrina. President Bush assigned a senior statesman to lead the federal all-government recovery effort. That his other office in Washington, D.C. He worked across government to make sure that the recovery was handled right in Louisiana and Mississippi. That is missing. The normal FEMA bureaucity is not designed to handle this type of recovery in this type of situation.
So I don't want to interrupt you, but just so bottom line, give us your gut. You hear about this Whitefish Energy Holdings. This company only been around for a couple years. Going into this, only had about 2 full-time employees. Of course, they've staffed up. Your gut take on that? Is that the way this should be working? Is that business as usual?
No.
Is that okay?
No. This is not going to set right with FEMA. There's a lot of things that FEMA has done and that I thought could have been done quicker and bigger. But one thing they do well is contracts. This company might think they'll get that money. FEMA will claw that money back. If that contract wasn't done right, they'll be dancing all the way to the graveyard. This will not work. This contract, the way it was let, the size of the company, no past performance, working for the government, this is not going to work. It won't work because it's not designed to work that way. It's designed to be fair and all full disclosure. They did not have full disclosure. And from day one, I tweeted the governor, you better fix this or you're going to end up like the mayor of New Orleans in jail. Because that's what happens to politicians, not because they did it, because people start lying about it.
General Honore, the president gave his administration just a matter of days ago a 10 out of 10 when asked about their efforts, the recovery in Puerto Rico. How do you grade it? What's your reaction to that sort of take?
Well, let's see. We still got, not everybody have water. We've got people drinking from EPA sites.
So you grade it.
We still don't have all the distribution points up. I'm not going to argue with the president. He's got to deal with that with the person he's seeing in the mirror in the morning. I don't think the people in Puerto Rico would grade it as a 10. And maybe a 10 on a scale of a different higher scale, but this is not right. We can do better. And I think the president's intentions are good, but his cabinet has let him down. His cabinet has not come to him and said, hey, we need to scale this up. His cabinet are not decisively engaged, and the Congress and the Senate ought to be a damn shame for allowing this to go on this long without proper scaling, and to allow these type of situations where we've got the Energy Department, we got all of FEMA, we got the Department of Justice, to allow this contract to come out, because what it do is put doubt in the people of Puerto Rico mind is who in the hell is in charge down there, which is a problem. They don't have a fixed chain of command to make those kind of decisions. That's why they need a recovery czar or a senior statement to go down there and run that.
So, General, you may have just answered this, but in a last thought, the #1 thing the president could do today that would help satisfy some of your concerns to help deal with the situation in Puerto Rico is what?
Find him a senior statesman, a retired governor or senator or congressman that know how the government in Washington work, because they're going to have to claw that money out of Washington, and they're going to have to guide that governor on how to do things and what are the priorities. They need a senior statesman down there as opposed to a appointed official coming out of FEMA or DHS.
General Russell Honore, always a pleasure to see you. Appreciate your comments today. Thank you.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.